Hey guys, congratulations on the purchase of your 2012 Holiday Rambler Ambassador. My name's Matt. I'll be walking you through the coach today and showing you what's in the compartments and how everything works. So let's get started. All right guys, in your first compartment, this is your diesel fuel fill. This is on the passenger side, but you also have a fill on the driver's side and it leads to the same tank. You can fill the diesel from this little compartment on the outside so you don't have to open the main door. But this is it right here. Okay, and that's all there is to it. Now in your second compartment, we have your storage slide out tray, and this slides both ways. So it's gonna pull out on this side and push through to the other side as well. This bag right here is an RV cover, all right. You also have some power outlets in there and then a coaxial hookup if you wanted to put a TV out here. So you have two appliances on this side of the coach. This one here is your furnace exhaust. And really not much you have to do on the outside of it. Typically you'd have to keep it clean from bees and spiders from making nests in there, but there's a screen that covers over top of it, so not much of a concern. So this is your hot water tank. All right, really not too much going on the outside here. It's all started up from the inside. On the bottom is where your drain plug is, and this is the plug itself. It is winterized right now, so we have no water in the tank, hence why that is out. The only thing you should know down here as well is this right here is a pressure relief valve. Sometimes it leaks, that's completely normal. If you're getting sputtering water inside the coach, you can come out here, give a little pull on this, and take the air out of the tank if you needed to. But besides that, it's all done from the inside, so I'll show you that in a bit. Your next compartment, this is where the fresh water tank stays at. Same thing, not too much going on down here. You also have your freshwater filter and the wrench below to crank that off and replace the filter. Other than that, you have an LP quick connect hose fitting down there, so if you wanted to hook up a propane grill out here, you could. Moving back, this is where the house batteries of the coach are located. You have 4 batteries. They're lead acid, so you will have to keep them up with distilled water. You can take a look at the levels of each battery by twisting off these caps here and taking a peek down in. Okay. Now these batteries will charge when your generator's running, when you're plugged in, or when you're driving. Okay, so they're pretty much always charging. All right, last compartment on the passenger side is where the chassis batteries are located, and you also have 2 battery disconnects. The one on the right will disconnect the house batteries, which we just saw in the previous bay, and you're going to use that in times of storage when you don't want the batteries to so much discharge. The one on the left would disconnect the chassis battery. Same thing, you're going to use that in times of storage to prevent them from dying out on you. All right, now we're at the very back side of the coach. This is your engine compartment. We're going to twist this knob to give it an open here. On the top we have your engine oil coolant. You can have a good visual of the level right there. Working our way down, we have a light on the back side here. Also some 110 plugs. That's going to be used for your engine block heater for those really cold temperature days. You can plug that in down here. You guys also have a transmission oil dipstick, an engine oil dipstick, and brake fluid reservoir. Just so you know, the other side opens the same way, but there's really not too much going on back here. Last thing on the back side of the coach here, we have a few things. One is the hitch, of course. So if you guys wanted to hook up, say, a flat tow system to tow a car, maybe a storage rack or a tow dolly, you have a few different options. You also have a 7-way plug down here and a 4-way plug as well. So you could have trailer lights or what have you. On the right side here, we have a little air hose fitting, and this is already set up for a flat tow system called Air Force One. It's a braking system that you can use to brake a tow vehicle behind you. So that's really nice to already have. And then the last thing, we have 2 sewer hose storage containers back here as well, and these just twist off, and you can pop your sewer hose in there. So we are now on the driver's side of the coach at the very back. First compartment door that we have is the power bay, or the power cable itself. It is a manual pull out, okay? But if you wanted to retract it, it is power, and there's a button in the top right, and that'll bring it in for you. It's 50 amps, and that's really about it. You guys can plug into 30 amps if you wanted to with an adapter, even 15 amps if you needed to keep the batteries charged and the fridge cold. It is recommended you have some sort of surge protection on the coach as well, so make sure you have a nice surge protector. The next storage bay in the very back, we have your air filter for the engine. And also, this little bulb here is going to tell you when your air filter needs to be reset. There's a yellow plunger in there, and that's going to float to the top. It lets you know when you need to replace it. In this storage bay here, you do have a little bit of storage, but up above that, this black box, it's two things. One, it's going to be your transfer switch. So even though we're plugged in right now, if we decided to turn on the generator, it would pull from that power source instead of the plug. So it favors the generator. It is also a high-end surge guard. So it will protect you against high voltage and high amperage, but nothing against low voltage. So same thing going back to that surge guard. Next bay forward, guys, this is your engine radiator. Not too much going on in here. So this is your wet bay. This is where the water connections are and the dump station. Starting from the top, we have your outside shower, which has a hot and a cold valve. This is the shower head itself. To the right of that, we have a freshwater connection. So if you were to turn on the water pump, this would give you a supply of water, pressurized water. You could hook up like a hose nozzle to it. The water pump, of course, as well. Below that, we have your tank monitors. And this is just a click and hold switch, and we can see how full each tank is. We can see your propane, fresh tank, black tank, and gray tank. Also your battery level as well. To the right of that, we have a black tank flush. And by hooking up a hose to this, it will spray water inside of the black tank and kind of clean it out just a little bit more. We also have your freshwater connection. So if you were at the campsite, you would hook up a freshwater hose to this fitting here, and that would bypass the holding tank and supply water and pressure to all the fixtures inside. Now, if you wanted to fill that water tank and take water with you to your next trip or on the road, you would turn down this valve here. Now this same connection would go and fill the water tank itself. Another way to fill the freshwater tank is by popping off this cap and sticking in a hose down there. It's called a gravity fill because you could dump water in this case, instead of needing pressurized water for this connection. Other than that, you have cable and satellite hookups, and also landline phone hookup as well. Your dump station below, you have two tanks that are going to discharge from this location. You have your black tank on the left and your gray tank on the right. Now, gray tank is anything that goes down the sink or shower. Black tank is anything that goes down the toilet. So you'll need a sewer hose to use this. All right, we're going to pop this cap off, connect our sewer hose to it. We're always going to want to pull the black tank first. Once that's empty, we can flush it like we talked about, and then run the gray tank. Okay, and then we can store the sewer hose in the back sewer hose storage compartment that we already saw earlier. The only other thing, couple things, low point drains for the hot and cold water line, and then a connection for winterization. So this is to drop into a gallon of antifreeze, and it'll pull that through the coach when it came time to winterize. And one more thing too, if you were hooked up at a campsite with sewer connections, of course you would want to leave this door closed and not have your sewer hose running out the compartment door. So this piece here actually swivels down, and you can run the sewer hose underneath the storage bay and out the bottom. Up above the wet bay compartment, we have the backside to your fridge. If we pop this open, we can see the backside to your fridge. Really not a lot going on. Water filter cut off, or water supply cut off, and just some of the inner workings of it, if a technician had to get to it. Next compartment, we have your propane, and that's going to supply power to the stovetop, the furnace, the hot water tank, so, you know, don't run out of propane if you can. A couple things about it. This valve here is what opens the propane tank, so we would twist that to the left. It's open now. To close it, you just twist it to the right, okay? You have a gauge to see how full the propane is, and then these two here are used to fill the tank. And you'll have to go somewhere to get it filled. RV dealerships, I think U-Hauls fill them too. So now we're on the opposite side of that main storage bay, and here's the opposite side to this slide out tray. This does lift up and pull out this way as well. Again, here's that RV cover and a carpet for the inside. And again, now we're on the opposite side of the diesel fuel fill. Remember, you do have two fills. This is the opposite side to it, and there's also a compartment here too, so you could pop that open instead. This is the last storage compartment. Well, I wouldn't say storage compartment, but the last compartment on the driver's side. It's just a lot of chassis wiring where it all kind of comes together, so I wouldn't really store too much in here, but that's all it is. Now the very last compartment on the outside will be your generator. We're at the very front of the coach now. The release is on the bottom side of it. So in the generator compartment, of course, we have your 8,000 watt diesel generator. A couple things that you're looking at right now. One, you have the generator start and stop on the left side, but we also have a switch on the inside, which would be more commonly used. We have a generator hour meter on there as well, so you can see how long it's ran for. And then to the right of that, we have the breaker for the generator. So a little tip, if this thing is running and you're not getting any power to the coach, come outside, take a look at that switch right here. Just make sure it's flicked up in the on position. Okay, that'll supply power to the coach. And the two caps, right here we have coolant fill and oil. You keep an eye on the coolant level from this little window down here. But that's about it. We'll give it a start up from the inside. Also on this front compartment, we have your windshield wiper fluid. All right guys, welcome to the inside of the coach. We're gonna start in the very back, the bedroom, and then work our way up. So in the very back, we have a couple light switches right here next to the bed, and then of course the fan as well. Okay. We have a power outlet on each side of the bed, as well as a little storage spot. Now your mattress itself is a sleep number, so you're going to have a remote for that. And then under the mattress as well, a little bit of storage. Of course, you'll see the sleep number air pump there as well. Now backside, you have a ton of closet space. So some shelves on the right side, some shoe storage here, and this runs all the way across the back. And very last thing, underneath the shelf here, I know you can't see it, but a fire extinguisher. So across from the bed, we have a lot of storage across the top from the TV, different storage bins underneath and around, and of course the TV itself. Now this TV is going to talk to your antenna, so it'll get local TV stations, and it'll also talk to this satellite dish on top as well. Now in the hallway, we have your washer dryer. Top one is the dryer, and this works just off of a dial. So you turn the dial, select the time, and click start. You can do low heat or high heat. Inside the dryer, bottom side here, there it is your dryer vent. Your washer is located underneath that. Top left is where the soaps are added. And on that same panel, you can see all the different types of loads you can run, and the dial is what selects the load. So say you wanted to do bright whites, you would turn the dial to number 6. It would preload everything over here, including spin cycles and temperatures, and then you can click start and run your wash load. In the bathroom, lots of storage, like all throughout. Okay, even some down underneath. We have a couple switches in here. We have one that will operate the fantastic fan up above. So if we click and hold up, that'll raise the lid, and then we can turn on the fan. Okay. Underneath that panel, we have the toilet flush. One will add water, one will flush. But since we're winterized right now, we're not going to run that. Some switches to my left, we have light switches and the water pump switch. Below that, we have a GFCI power outlet, and the reset is on this power outlet as well. Of course, your sink and your shower. Now this is slide open. These are glass panels, guys, so make sure you're locking this when you're in transit. Inside the shower, you have different reservoirs for shampoo, conditioner, and shower gel. And then, of course, the shower head itself, which telescopes on that pole there. And to the right of that, we have a little bit more storage, maybe for towels or linens or what have you. And that goes all the way down. Guys, this is your control panel for the coach. We're in the hallway right now. Starting from the top, we have our thermostat. And the thermostat can be switched over to cool or heat. And then from there, you can choose the temperature for either one. Right underneath that, this is your Magnum energy panel. We're going to touch any button just to turn it on. Okay, and we can see a couple things. One, in this corner here, we can see that we're charging and that the inverter is on. Now the inverter is going to take battery power and invert it to 110 so we can have your fridge run while you're going down the road. Since we're plugged in, we really don't need it on right now, so we're going to shut that off. The charger is located above that. Now we can shut that off, but it's not a good idea. Okay, that's going to prevent our batteries from charging up. Really, there's not ever a time that you're going to want that to be the case. So always leave that charging on. The only other button that you're really going to use down here is AGS, and that stands for Auto Gen Start. So if we click that, that's going to take us into the AGS panel. And in times where you're dry camping, when you're not plugged into a power source, but you need 110 power, you can tell this panel here to turn on your generator in instances where maybe it's too hot in the coach or you need the batteries to charge. So for example, if we go down to Start Volts and click into this, we can say, hey, we want the generator to automatically turn on when our batteries hit 12 volts. All right, same thing for temperature. We came up to Start Temp, turn it on to external input, or select the temperature. We can have this turn on when it gets too hot in here. This is really popular for pet owners. Okay, so we would select that. Now it's not going to work until we go into wrong one, AGS control, and actually enable the unit. Okay, so we're going to leave that off for now because you're probably going to want to set this up to your own preferences, but just know that's what it does. Below that we have your power control system, and this is just strictly a monitor panel. Now this coach, if you try to run too many different appliances at one time, it will shed a certain appliance so you don't start popping breakers and fuses. So this just tells you what's going on, where the power is going to, and how it's managing it. Okay, nothing you're really going to change in here. Once again, just a monitor panel. Next thing, we have bay heat. If we turn that on, that's going to heat the compartments underneath, specifically the wet bay, to prevent your water lines from freezing over in really cold temperatures. Now the generator, we saw this on the outside, but let's actually give it a start. What we're going to do is hold down on the stop side until that lights up green. Then we can come over and click and hold start. Sometimes it takes a minute, so you just sit here and click and hold, and you'll know when it starts up. So there you go, that started up. This light would then remain green, and then in another minute or so, that automatic transfer switch would start pulling power from the generator instead, and using that as your power source. But we'll stop that. Underneath that, we have the tank level. We saw the same panel on the outside in the wet bay, so we can see your propane levels, fresh, black, gray tank, and battery level. We also have your hot water tank options down here. So the hot water tank, again, we saw on the outside, but it started from the inside here. Now you can either do gas heat, we're not going to click it on now because we are winterized, or electric heat if you're plugged in to save your propane. The only thing to know about electric heat is that it's not as efficient, so it's not going to keep up as fast. Really not designed for a shower, but for doing dishes or washing your hands, electric heat is great. And then below that, we have all of your different slide outs, and we'll kind of play with those as we're packing up the coach today. Left of the panel, we have a little fan switch, so if we click and hold that, just like in the bathroom, same thing, it'll open up the lid, and then we can turn that on. It gets the fan going, so. Okay, moving up, we're now in the kitchen. First thing, on the passenger side, we have what I would call a pantry. Lots of pull-out trays, 4 to be exact. Okay, and then underneath that, we have your central vacuum hookup. So this is a little sweep, so you can sweep up all of the dirt into that, and you have a connection for the vacuum hoses as well. So once you hook the hose up into that, it automatically kicks on. So driver's side, we have the actual kitchen itself. Up top, we have your microwave, which also doubles as a convection. So if you click convec, you can select your temperature and bake more like an oven. Underneath that, we have your stove top, which is going to be ignited more like a grill at home. We're going to turn on the burner and click spark. We just filled your propane, so it's going to take a minute for it to come out, but you would keep turning that until it kicked on. You guys have a lot of storage, more pull-out trays, storage underneath the sink. You have a couple light switches here as well. Okay. This is a pull-out extension countertop, and that will just click into place. Your sink has removable tops here, so it makes for better storage if you're not using it. Storage up above, and then here we have your manual books too. So we'll leave those here for you. Your fridge as well. So this is a residential fridge. Now it's only going to work on 110 power. So that means when you're plugged in, the generator is on or you're running the inverter, which we saw on that panel. Couple things, I mean, it's really just set up like a fridge you'd have at home. You can set your temperatures for the refrigerator, and then it'll switch over to the freezer. You could set that temp. Light controls, the power, filter reset, and lock. Now there is a lock on the handle itself, so before you open it, you're going to want to flick that down so you can open up the door. Alright guys, we're in front of your TV right now, and as you can see, we're getting some local TV stations. Now we're not hooked up to any coax cable, we're not going off the satellite. So this is the antenna that's on the roof. And we're getting some local TV stations. Now the TV antenna, where you adjust it from, is right up above the driver's seat. Okay. Now that's this piece right here. Now you can see that we have 4 blue LEDs lit up, which means we have maximum signal strength. Now if we were to turn this, nothing might not happen right now, but ideally that would drop down in signal strength. So you can turn this for better signal and then fine tune with this knob right here. And that's why we're able to get different TV stations right now. All right, so taking a look at your fireplace, a couple different things going on. This bottom panel here is what drops down and opens up the controls to it. Left side switch here is what turns on the lighting to it, the ambiance. Now if we're gonna leave that on, the right side switch is what turns on the heat. So now we're actually blowing some hot air right now. This is a form of electric heat. This works great in, like, 45, 50 degree days. You could save your propane and run this instead. The heat dial is on the right. That's going to adjust your temperature. And this dial on the left is what controls the lighting. So underneath your dinette, 2 storage bins. One on the right side, there's a latch. You pull that comes out. And then in the middle we have a power outlet. So you can plug in, laptop, phone chargers. Up above the dinette, we have storage all the way across. Okay? And we have a light dimmer. Also in the dinette, we have day and night shades. This here is your day shade. Slow rise. And then in front of that, there it is. That's your night shade. And that goes for all windows. So right now we are above the driver's seat, and this is the compartment. So left side here, we're going to have all of your breakers for the coach, and they're all labeled on the bottom side. So if something isn't working the way it should, come down here and take a look at this first. Now to the right of that, we have all of your fuses, and these are just like standard automotive fuses. So same thing, if something's not working right, come by and take a look at this panel first. Okay. To the right of that, we have your slide out room. Now this one's going to work the passenger slide out, but we also have a slide out switch for that same one back on that main control panel. And this panel here is your jack leveling, your hydraulic jacks. So that would lower down all 4 of them, level out the coach automatically. So how that works and what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to start the engine up first, and before you move out the slides, you would turn on the panel. It's going to take a second to load. From there, the second button in on the top left is auto. You would click auto and it would do everything for you. It's going to first lower the air out of the coach to bring it lower to the ground and then bring down those hydraulic jacks. When it's done, it's going to light up the LCI in the middle, green. That's how you know you're good to go. Now before you hit the road, of course, you're going to want to bring those jacks up. So engine running again, bottom right button, it says retract all jacks. You're going to click that. It'll bring those jacks back up, bring the coach back to ride height, and then you can be good to go. So now we're sitting down in the driver's seat. Let's talk about everything that we have going up in the front. Very left side, we have your leveling system for the air system. So the one we saw up above us does jacks. This one levels out with air. So if you go to a place and they say no jack leveling, this is what you would use. So same thing, you would turn on the engine, you'd start it, and you would just click auto. So auto mode is going to lower the air and level it out for you all done by itself. Travel mode would bring you back to ride height. Now you could do it manually by clicking manual and clicking raise and lower in each corner and going off the leveling system in the middle here, but that's just a lot more work. So auto level does great. These buttons up here, we're going to talk about these. The first one, front visor, that's going to do the night shade in the front dash. Okay. The second one is front shade, and that'll work the day shade. All right. Next to that, we have mirror heat on and off. Fog lights on and off to the right of that. Battery boost. This is a cool little switch. So In this scenario, you go to start your engine and the chassis batteries are dead. You can click and hold battery boost while cranking the engine and you'll get a jump start from the house batteries, so you're not stranded. ATC stands for auto traction control. Now the two buttons on the left one is request regen. Now how this works in short is your exhaust system has a filter on it and it helps your engine burn a little bit cleaner. Now that filter can get clogged, and when it does, you have to burn up the materials in it for it to start working properly again. Now, you would do that by clicking Request Regen. Now, this is going to really amp up the temperature in your exhaust system, so you're only going to want to do this when you're driving, say, on the highway, not at slow speeds, all right? Or if you're parked, make sure you're not near anything that's combustible. Okay, so that's the left switch, Request Regen. Now, the one to the right of it, if it does it automatically, right, you're going to want to shut that system off in the scenario where you are driving slow or in an area where it's not safe to do so. So you can cancel that system by clicking Inhibit, and it'll stop that from proceeding for the time being. Up above these switches, we have your mirror adjusters, so left side and right side. Below that, this chrome piece here, there's a few different buttons on it. I know they're probably tough to see right now, but these buttons are what control inside the dash. So main, fuel, diag, reset, like trip resets and that kind of thing. Up above that, we have the gear shift. So there's no essentially park in this coach. What it is the parking brake engaged while being in neutral. So once the engine is running, you would switch out from neutral into drive. Once that's set, you would then push in your brake to release it, and then you could start driving forward. To the right of that, we have your lights, the parking brake, which we talked about. Pushing in would release it, pulling it out would engage it. Up above that, we have windshield wipers, tilt for the steering wheel. Okay. On the steering wheel itself, we have high beam flash, cruise control set, cancel, and resume, and of course on and off. So on the right side of the steering wheel, we have a few different buttons. The top one here, these are called ICC flashers, and what they are, if you click this, it momentarily flashes the marker lights on the outside of the coach at the very top, on the front above the windshield, and behind. And what it's used for is if, say someone lets you in to the lane, lets you merge safely, you could flash these and people know that's kind of like a thank you for letting me in to the lane. Below that, we have your engine brake buttons. And engine brakes are used for cases when you're going down, say, a steep graded hill. You can turn on your engine brake. Now, this one's a 3-stage. You have like a low, medium, and a high. And if you're going down a steep hill, it basically turns your engine into a big compressor and helps slow you down without using the job of the brake so much. This way you're saving your brakes from giving out and being more efficient by using your engine brake. So 3 phases, or 3 stages, and then an off button. All right, so to the right side, we have a few things. One is the radio switch, step cover, which would operate the step by the driver's, or the passenger's feet, so their feet aren't dangling throughout the trip. Another generator start and stop switch. Same thing on this. We'll hold it down until the orange light kicks on, and then we can click on the top side for it to start. Underneath that, we have your HVAC controls for the dash, so heat, cooling, and where you'd like to put the air. So this radio button on the left side that I clicked, what it does is it allows you to choose which batteries you would like the radio to run off of. In the down position, it runs off of the chassis battery, so when you turn on the engine, it'll run off of that and kick on. Right now we're parked, the engine isn't running, so we clicked on this switch to allow the radio to run off of the house batteries. So that's what we're doing right now. The radio itself is like a car radio. It's touchscreen, so you can use that to change the stations, have some presets down here, and then the radio volume is on the left side. So now we're above the passenger seat. A couple things. One, we have the Traveler satellite system, and we're not hooked up with a satellite receiver or anything like that. So you'd have to set up a satellite receiver, and then it would talk through this system here. This would power on, and it would raise up the satellite and it would start searching for TV stations once you already had a receiver installed and you were subscribed to a provider. Beneath that is your DVD player. So now we're going to bring out the awnings, and right now I'm going to turn on the patio awning on switch and then click extend on the awning. And now we're bringing it in. All we're doing is clicking and hold retract. Now we're going to do the door awning next. We're just going to click extend on this and that'll bring it out. The last set of awnings we have are the window awnings on the driver's side of the coach. We have a set in the front and then a set in the back. How it works is there's a little loop, a little lanyard that sticks out, and you're going to hook onto that, pull it down with the awning pull rod, and then connect that loop to this bracket here, and it just stays out. A little tip when bringing these window awnings back in, they are spring loaded. So if you were to take this loop out and then let it go, it would go flying back in. So what you want to do is take the loop out and hook it up to that awning pull rod. It's just a long pull, and then slowly bring it back up so it doesn't do that all in one motion. So now we're just about finished. We're gonna pack up your slides now. We're gonna start with the back one, and that is this far right switch on the control panel. So we're gonna click and hold in. Right now we're gonna bring in the two main slides, the passenger front slide and then the driver's side, which is the entire length of the coach. Before you do this too, by the way, just check the space around the slides. Make sure all of your cabinets are closed, you know, drawers are closed in, and of course the two big things, your front seats, the driver and the passenger side, are also moved up far enough so the slides don't run into them. So we're going to do the front passenger, click and hold in. Now we're going to do the full wall driver side slide. All right, guys, well, that concludes your orientation on your 2012 Ambassador. Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out here at Colton RV, 716-694-0188. Happy travels, guys.